Just 1 hour from Madrid lies a city where Roman engineering, medieval castles, and Gothic cathedrals collide in a postcard-perfect setting. Segovia is much more than just a day trip. It's a deep dive into Spain's fascinating past. If you're new here, hi, my name is Laura, and I've spent the past few years traveling all over the world to places like Kenya and Tanzania, Pakistan, France, Switzerland, and so much more. I was actually born and raised in Madrid, so if you're looking for Spain travel content, this is the perfect channel for that. And in this channel, I typically share lots of travel vlogs, hidden gems, and travel guides, so if that sounds like something you like, make sure you subscribe for more. And now, let's explore the ancient beauty of Segovia, a city that feels like a fairy tale brought to life. Segovia is a small city in central Spain, sitting proudly atop a rocky hill between two rivers. It's been inhabited since ancient times, from Celtic tribes to Romans, Visigoths, Moors, and Christian kingdoms. But what makes Segovia truly unique is how these layers of history are still standing today. The Alcázar of Segovia is one of those places that instantly makes you stop and stare. It is one of the most important monuments in the city, and from a distance, it looks like something out of a fairy tale. And fun fact, it's actually rumored to have inspired Walt Disney's Cinderella Castle. The shape of the castle is quite unique. It is long and narrow with towers that look like they belong in a storybook and not in real life history. And there's actually a reason for that, which I will get to in a minute. But anyways, the Alcázar dates back to at least the 12th century, and it started as a fortress. But over time, it became a royal residence for the kings of Castile, and eventually served as a prison and a military academy. One of its most important moments in history was when Queen Isabella I was crowned here. So Queen Isabella I was the Queen of Castile, which is kind of the central region of Spain. And she was actually a super important queen in Spanish history because she went on to marry King Ferdinand of Aragon, which together they were known as the Catholic kings, and again they were super important in the history of Spain. Their marriage united the kingdoms of Aragon and Castilla, or Aragon and Castile in English, and that created the united version of Spain that you know today, or at least a version of Spain with borders that are very similar to modern Spain. They also ended the reconquest in Spain, so for 800 years, Moors, which were invading troops from North Africa, had invaded and conquered very large parts of Spain, and Queen Isabella and Ferdinand were the ones who finally put an end to that and expelled all invading troops from the country. And they also financed the expeditions to America by Columbus, so Christopher Columbus sought financing from the Catholic kings, which were Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, and they actually financed it, leading to the quote-unquote discovery of America, which of course not just changed Spanish history, but it changed the course of all of world history. But here's something that you might not expect. The castle's fairy tale look isn't entirely original. After a fire in 1862, the Alcázar was partially rebuilt, and the restoration was heavily influenced by German Romanticism, especially castles like Neuschwanstein in Bavaria, and I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm pretty sure that I did not say that right. But anyways, that's why it looks so different from most Spanish castles, because it is actually very different, and it doesn't actually belong in Spain. I mean, not truly. It doesn't have a Spanish architectural style at all. The taller and more decorative turrets and spires in the castle were actually added during this time, giving it that iconic fantasy vibe that we see today. Inside, the rooms are filled with armor, tapestries, and beautifully detailed ceilings. One of the most impressive is the Hall of Kings, where you can find golden busts of all the Castilian monarchs. You can also go up the Tower of Juan II, where you can get some really amazing views of the surrounding area, although you do have to climb 150 narrow steps to get to the top. I didn't actually go inside the castle or up the tower because the queue to get inside was so long and I was running out of time. I was trying to accomplish a lot today, visiting all of Segovia and also La Granja de San Ildefonso, which if you haven't watched my vlog about La Granja, definitely watch it. I'll link it in the description because it is a really cool vlog and also an incredible place to visit and a super cool and unique day trip to do from Madrid. But anyways, back to the Alcázar. Even though I didn't go inside, inside and I didn't go to the tower. The views from the garden were also super nice. The garden itself was lovely, and from here you could see views of Segovia and the cathedral, as well as the surrounding countryside and the mountains, which was so beautiful. That mountain right there in the distance is locally known as the Dead Woman, because if you notice, like that right there is her face, and then that is her body and her legs laying down. It looks like a dead woman, basically, and I think that's really cool. That church right there, this one, that's where we walked from, and it's not really that far away, but it's such a long walk uphill. Like, it's so much uphill that it looks like it feels super far away. But yeah, that's where we came from, and I can actually see our car parked over there. Something that I find super interesting is that circle pattern on the wall of the castle. So apparently that's very typical to this region, but this circle pattern is different from this circle pattern, which is different from that circle pattern down there. So I find that really interesting. A short walk from the Alcázar through the old town takes you to the Segovia Cathedral, one of the most impressive buildings in the city. It was built between 1525 and 1577, making it one of the last Gothic-style cathedrals built in Europe, at a time when the Renaissance style had already taken over in most places. It replaced an earlier cathedral that had been destroyed during a local uprising called the Revolt of the Comuneros, and inside you can find over 20 chapels, each filled with religious art, sculptures, and centuries of history. One of the highlights is the beautifully carved wooden choir and the Gothic cloister, which is incredibly peaceful. Something that a lot of people don't know is that the cathedral was one of the few in Spain that stayed mostly untouched during the Spanish Civil War, which was a pretty rare thing considering how much was lost during that period. So whether you're into architecture, history, or just want to step into a quiet, beautiful space, the cathedral is definitely worth a visit. And now, the star of the show. Segovia's Roman aqueduct. So this is definitely Segovia's most famous monument and its most iconic site, and this thing is massive. So this structure was built to transport water all the way from there to the other side of this kind of valley, so all the way over there, and the aqueduct actually continues further on both sides. But that part of the ruins is now underground, but it was actually a lot longer than this, and it was made to transport water over the ridge over there. I had seen photos of it before, and sure, it looked impressive, but I was in awe when I actually saw the aqueduct. Nothing compares to standing right beneath those huge stone arches and realizing that this thing was built almost 2,000 years ago, which is just crazy to me. It was likely constructed in the 1st century AD during the Roman Empire, either under Emperor Domitian or Trajan. And here's what's crazy. It's made of over 20,000 granite blocks, cut and placed without a single drop of mortar. It's held together purely by balance and pressure, which, I mean, that is just insane. The aqueduct was designed to carry water from Fuente Fria, which is a spring in the mountains almost 17 kilometers away, all the way into the city, and it worked for centuries. In fact, parts of it were still in use all the way into the 20th century, which I know I've said the word crazy a lot already, but it just is crazy that this structure worked for 1,900 years. It is just so insane for me to wrap my mind around the fact that this structure was so well built and so well engineered that it lasted for literal centuries after the Roman Empire had already vanished. It completely fulfilled its mission for so much longer than I think anyone thought it ever would. At its tallest point, the arches reach almost 29 meters high. That's like a 9-story building, and it's been standing there for 2 millennia, through earthquakes, wars, and everything in between. And here's the fun fact. If you look closely, you'll see a small niche in the center with a statue of the Virgin Mary. That was added in medieval times to Christianize the monument and protect it spiritually, even though it was originally a Roman engineering feat. The aqueduct also slopes ever so slightly in the whole way, using gravity to keep water flowing, a perfect example of how advanced Roman engineering really was. So whether you're a history nerd or just someone who appreciates mind-blowing architecture, this is the kind of place that gives you goosebumps. And honestly, even if you don't like history, even if you don't like architecture, this is a place that you have to visit because truly there is no one on earth who cannot appreciate this incredible building. It is truly magnificent and just massive and mind-blowing. And you know what the best part is? Segovia is just an hour away from Madrid, which makes it one of the easiest and most rewarding day trips you can take, and you can also combine it with a day trip to Avila or to La Granja de San Ildefonso. There is so much beauty and history to see around here, which makes it one of the best destinations around Madrid. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed sharing it. And if you love discovering hidden gems, amazing history, beautiful nature, and beautiful places around the world, not just in Spain, but in Tanzania, Pakistan, and many more destinations, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me to grow this channel. I'm really trying so hard to grow, and any like, comment, subscriber is so appreciated. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.